Introduction. Have you ever noticed how much energy we spend chasing after wealth, status, or recognition? We often believe that if we can finally secure enough money, a higher title, or a little more admiration from the world, then we'll feel safe, happy, and fulfilled. Yet, when those things arrive, if they ever do, our hearts still carry a quiet emptiness. The bank account grows, the shelves fill with possessions, but the soul still whispers, something is missing. This paradox has followed humanity for thousands of years. We accumulate and achieve, yet anxiety still lingers. We build bigger houses, but often feel lonelier inside them. We surround ourselves with more possessions, but carry heavier worries about protecting them. Doesn't it make you wonder, if true wealth could be measured by material success, why are so many of the most successful people still restless, anxious, or searching for peace? The truth is, there exists another kind of treasure, one that cannot be stolen, devalued, or lost to time. It doesn't sit in a vault or in a portfolio, and it isn't something you can inherit from someone else. This treasure lives within the heart. It is found in compassion, in the act of sharing, and in the quiet strength of kindness. Unlike external wealth, which can vanish overnight, this inner wealth grows the more you give it away. Imagine this for a moment. When you offer a smile to someone who is carrying a heavy day, when you take time to listen to a friend without judgment, or when you extend a hand to someone in need, don't you notice how your own heart feels lighter, fuller, more alive? It is as though the simple act of caring unlocks a richness that no money could ever buy. Compassion multiplies. Generosity expands. And love, when shared, never diminishes, it only grows stronger. I've met people with very little material comfort, yet their presence felt abundant. Why? Because they carried within them a spirit of openness and care. On the other hand, I've seen individuals with great wealth who seemed imprisoned by fear, jealousy, or loneliness. It becomes clear, wealth is not about how much you own, it's about how deeply you live. So here is the journey we are about to take together. Over the next 10 reflections, we will walk through what I call 10 doors to inner wealth. Each one reveals a way that compassion and sharing open the heart and transform the way we see life. These are not abstract ideas. They are living truths, teachings you can practice in your daily conversations, in the way you care for your family, even in how you treat yourself. As we move forward, I invite you to ask yourself, what kind of wealth am I truly chasing? Is it the fleeting security of possessions, or the timeless richness of a compassionate heart? If the world could take away all your material success tomorrow, would you still feel rich within? The answers to these questions are not meant to make you feel guilty or doubtful, but to remind you of something you already know deep inside, that the greatest treasure is not something you must run toward, but something already waiting in your heart. So, let us begin. Together, let us step through the first door and discover what it really means to be inwardly wealthy. Part 1. True wealth begins with a heart that knows how to give. They say the poorest person is not the one who has nothing, but the one who holds on tightly to everything, afraid to let go. Think about that for a moment. Have you ever met someone who has plenty, yet lives with constant fear of losing it? Their hands are full, but their heart feels empty. That is a kind of poverty no amount of money can cure. Real wealth, on the other hand, begins with a simple gesture, opening your hand, opening your heart, and choosing to give. When you give, whether it's your time, your kindness, or even something small like a smile, you don't lose anything. Instead, you plant a seed of connection, of joy, of peace. And just like a seed in the soil, it grows, often in ways you could never predict. Let me share a small story. Years ago, I watched an elderly woman in a cafe quietly slip a few dollars into the hand of a young man who looked exhausted and defeated. She didn't make a big show of it. She simply touched his hand, looked him in the eye, and said, "It'll be okay." The man's shoulders softened. His eyes filled with tears, not because of the money itself, but because in that moment, he felt seen, cared for, reminded that he wasn't alone. That tiny act of giving was priceless. And here's the beautiful paradox: when you give, your world doesn't shrink, it expands. Your mind feels lighter. Your heart grows calmer. The walls of isolation dissolve. Instead of being trapped in the tight grip of mine, you begin to experience freedom. Generosity doesn't empty you, it fills you. But let's pause here. Giving doesn't always mean financial charity. It can be something as ordinary as listening, really listening, to a friend who feels unheard. It can be helping a neighbor carry their groceries, or offering encouragement to someone going through a rough patch. Often, what people need most isn't money, it's presence, compassion, and reassurance. When you give those, you're offering something no bank account can match. Now, ask yourself this: what kind of person do you want to be remembered as? Someone who clung tightly to every penny, every possession, every ounce of control? Or someone whose open hand brought warmth, comfort, and hope to others? True wealth isn't measured by what we store up, but by what flows through us. I've also noticed something interesting: people who give with an open heart rarely feel poor. Even if they don't have much, they carry a sense of abundance. Their generosity shapes their inner world. They walk with a kind of peace that money alone can never buy. Meanwhile, those who hoard, who keep their fists closed, often live in constant anxiety, always guarding, always fearing, never free. So here is the lesson: wealth begins with a heart that knows how to give. It begins not with a clenched fist, but with an open hand. The more you give, the more you discover you already have. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, what can I give today, not tomorrow, not someday, but right now? A smile? A word of encouragement? A small kindness that may change someone's day? Remember, every act of giving is a seed. And the more seeds you plant, the richer your life becomes. Part 2. Compassion is the currency that never loses its value. Gold can be stolen. Money can lose its worth overnight. Status and titles can fade the moment you step away from them. But compassion is the one treasure that never depreciates, never rusts, never slips through your fingers. It is the currency of the heart, and it circulates endlessly. Think about it this way: every kind word you speak, every gentle act of care, every time you choose patience over anger, those moments are deposits into a bank account no thief can rob. They ripple outward, touching lives you may never even meet. A single smile offered to a stranger might soften their day. A word of encouragement could lift someone from despair. These acts cost nothing, yet their value is beyond measure. Let me share a simple picture. Imagine walking into a room full of tension. People are frustrated, maybe even arguing. One person chooses to stay calm, to speak softly, to acknowledge others with kindness. That choice doesn't just affect the speaker, it shifts the energy of the entire room. Suddenly, the air feels lighter. People breathe easier. That's compassion at work, like a currency that changes the entire economy of human connection. And here's something fascinating: compassion is contagious. Neuroscience has even shown that when we witness an act of kindness, our brains light up in ways that make us more likely to act kindly ourselves. It's like passing a torch that never burns out. This is why compassion doesn't just belong to you, it circulates, multiplies, and returns in ways you may never expect. Now, let me ask you, what kind of wealth do you truly trust? Is it the balance in your account, which can disappear with one market crash? Or is it the richness of your relationships, the way people feel safe and loved around you? We spend so much time worrying about financial stability, but when life gets hard, when illness, loss, or aging come, what sustains us most is not gold or silver, but the compassion of those who walk beside us. I've seen this in my own life. Some of the most meaningful moments I've experienced didn't involve money at all. They were moments when someone chose to sit with me in silence when I was hurting, or when a stranger offered unexpected kindness in a moment of stress. Those moments reminded me, this is what it means to feel rich. Not because of what I owned, but because I was held in the gentle web of human care. So, here's the lesson: a person with compassion is wealthy wherever they go. It doesn't matter what's in their wallet, because their presence itself becomes a gift. People are drawn to them, not for what they can buy, but for the peace and warmth they carry. Compassion is a universal currency, accepted everywhere, valued by everyone, and never subject to inflation. As you sit with this idea, I invite you to reflect: how often do I use compassion as my currency? Do I spend it freely, or do I hold it back, waiting for the right moment? What would happen if, starting today, you began to treat every word and action as a coin of compassion, spending it generously, without fear of running out? The truth is, the more compassion you give, the richer you become. Part 3. Sharing turns strangers into family. Have you ever noticed how a simple act of sharing can dissolve the distance between two people? One moment, you're strangers. The next, you feel a sense of connection, almost as if you've known each other for years. That's the magic of sharing. It shrinks the world, it closes the gap between me and you, and it reminds us that we are not as separate as we think. Now, when we hear the word sharing, our minds often jump straight to material things: money, food, possessions. And yes, those are important. But the deepest form of sharing isn't always about giving something physical. Sometimes, it's about sharing your time, your presence, your attention. Sometimes, it's simply about saying, I see you. I hear you. You matter. Think about a time when you were going through something heavy. Maybe it wasn't advice you needed, or even a solution. Maybe what mattered most was someone sitting beside you, not rushing you, not judging you, just being there. That, too, is sharing. It's sharing the weight of life's struggles. And in those moments, strangers can feel like family, and family bonds can grow even stronger. I remember once being stuck at an airport during a long delay. Everyone was tired, irritated, lost in their own frustrations. Then one traveler took out a bag of snacks and started offering them around. It was such a small gesture, but it shifted the entire mood. People started talking, laughing, even watching each other's bags so someone could grab a coffee. For a few hours, we weren't just isolated travelers, we were a little community, built on nothing more than kindness and a willingness to share. This is the beauty of sharing. It transforms loneliness into connection. It takes the sharp edges off isolation and creates belonging. And in a world where so many people feel invisible, offering someone your attention, your empathy, your understanding, is one of the greatest gifts you can give. But here's a question worth asking yourself. How often do we hold back from sharing because we are afraid of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood? How often do we convince ourselves that people don't need us, or that what we can offer isn't enough? The truth is, you don't need to have everything figured out, or have a lot to give. Even small acts, a kind word, a thoughtful message, a moment of listening, can be powerful bridges. And here's the deeper wisdom. Sharing doesn't just change the other person. It changes you. When you open up, when you allow yourself to be part of someone else's story, your own world becomes richer, fuller. You stop seeing others as them, and start recognizing them as us. That's where real inner wealth comes alive, not in accumulating for yourself, but in discovering the joy of belonging to something larger than your own life. So, the lesson is clear: inner wealth is the art of turning loneliness into connection. It's about making the stranger at the bus stop feel like a neighbor, and the neighbor feel like a friend. Every time you share, even something as simple as a smile, you weave yourself into the fabric of humanity. As you think about this, ask yourself, who in my life feels like a stranger right now, and what small act of sharing could turn them into kin? Because the moment you choose to share, the world shrinks, and suddenly, we are not so far apart after all. Part 4. The one who gives never truly becomes poor. Have you ever noticed something remarkable about generosity? The more you give, the more you realize how much you actually have. It's a paradox that goes against everything our world tells us. That holding on tightly keeps us safe, and that giving away our resources makes us weaker. In truth, the opposite is often true. Every act of giving, whether it's time, attention, or kindness, multiplies your sense of abundance. Think of a candle in a dark room. When you light one candle, it illuminates the space around you. Now, imagine using that candle to light 100 more. The original flame doesn't get smaller, it spreads, and suddenly the room, and the world, becomes brighter. That's how generosity works. Your heart is the candle, your compassion is the flame, and every gesture of giving lights up not just the life of the person receiving, but your own life as well. I've seen this in real life countless times. One friend of mine volunteers at a local shelter, not for recognition, but simply to share her time and attention. She doesn't have a fortune, but the joy she brings to others, and the joy she receives in return, is immeasurable. She walks through the world with a lightness and warmth that money could never buy. She is rich in a way that lasts far beyond any paycheck or investment. But generosity isn't only about grand gestures. It can be small and quiet. A comforting word to a co-worker, offering your seat to someone on the subway, sending a text to check in on a friend. These seemingly tiny actions ripple outward, creating waves of connection and trust. And the beauty of it is, the giver doesn't lose anything. In fact, giving often opens doors to even more richness in your own life, new friendships, unexpected opportunities, or simply a deeper sense of purpose. Here's a question to reflect on. Have you ever noticed how it feels when you genuinely give without expecting anything in return? There's a lightness that fills your chest, a satisfaction that no purchase can replicate. That feeling is a reminder that the wealth we are truly seeking isn't in our bank accounts, it's in the generosity we share, the love we express, the support we offer. And here's the most important lesson: the person who can give freely is the richest person of all. Not because they have more things, but because their heart is full, and they understand the true currency of life. True wealth is measured not in what you possess, but in what you're willing to release into the world. So, as you go through your day, ask yourself, what can I give today? What small act of kindness, what piece of myself, can I share that will brighten someone else's life? You'll be surprised at how much richer you feel afterward. Generosity is not a depletion, it's an expansion. And the more you give, the more you see just how abundant your life really is. Remember, giving is not a sacrifice, it's a source. And the one who gives never truly becomes poor. Part 5. Gratitude, the source of inner wealth. Have you ever noticed how two people can live in the same circumstances, yet one feels rich while the other feels poor? Often, the difference isn't in what they have, but in how they see it. A person who lives without gratitude wanders through life, as if in a desert, everything feels dry, empty, and lacking. But someone who practices gratitude walks through the same world like a lush garden in full bloom, noticing beauty and abundance everywhere. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It's a way of seeing life that transforms ordinary moments into treasures. When your mind is filled with appreciation, even the simplest things, a warm cup of tea, a kind word from a friend, the sound of rain, become precious. Every small detail becomes a gem, and every ordinary day feels extraordinary. This is the essence of inner wealth, recognizing that abundance isn't measured by how much you gather, but by how fully you experience and acknowledge what is already present. Think about a time when someone genuinely expressed appreciation toward you. Maybe it was a colleague thanking you for your help, or a friend acknowledging that you were there when they needed support. Did it make you feel lighter, more energized, more alive? That feeling, that warmth, is proof that gratitude is itself a form of wealth, an internal currency that enriches both the giver and the receiver. Here's a practical insight. When you focus on gratitude, you begin to notice the richness in your own life that you may have overlooked. That cup of coffee in the morning, the sunlight streaming through your window, a laugh shared with a loved one, these are small treasures. And the more you notice them, the more you feel like life itself is overflowing with abundance. It's a simple shift in perspective, but its effects are profound. Now, let me challenge you with a question. When was the last time you felt genuinely grateful for something you might normally take for granted? A roof over your head, clean water, food on the table, health, or even the people around you. When we start to see these as blessings rather than entitlements, gratitude becomes a lens that transforms our entire experience. Suddenly, you're not chasing happiness anymore, you're discovering it, right where you already are. I've seen this in my own life and in countless others. People who actively practice gratitude, even in the midst of hardship, report feeling more connected, more fulfilled, and surprisingly wealthy in ways money could never provide. Their joy isn't based on accumulation, it comes from the simple act of noticing, valuing, and appreciating what exists here and now. The lesson is clear: true inner wealth comes not from collecting more, but from the ability to see enough. Gratitude allows us to walk through life with open eyes and open hearts, finding richness in moments that might otherwise be overlooked. It turns ordinary experiences into treasures and makes life itself feel like a gift. So today, take a moment. Look around and ask yourself, what can I be grateful for right now? Even the smallest thing, a smile, a breath, a memory, can become a seed of abundance that grows inside your heart. Remember, the richest people aren't those with the most possessions, they are the ones who can see and appreciate enough. Part 6. True wealth lies in perception, not possession. Have you ever met someone who has everything they could possibly want, yet they are constantly restless, unsatisfied, or anxious? It's a strange paradox, because wealth is often measured by what you own, but happiness isn't. You can have the biggest house, the newest car, the highest salary, and still feel empty. True wealth, the kind that fills the heart, isn't about how much you possess, it's about how fully you experience what you already have. Think about this. A person who lives mindfully can find joy in the simplest things. A cup of tea on a quiet morning, the sunlight streaming through a window, the laughter of a child, or even the sound of rain hitting the roof. These are moments that anyone can access, yet so often they pass unnoticed because our minds are busy chasing the next thing, the next purchase, the next goal. Awareness is the key. When you slow down and truly savor the ordinary, life itself becomes rich and meaningful. Let me give you a small example. I know a couple who live in a modest apartment, far from the luxury most would dream of. Yet, they radiate contentment. Why? Because they've learned the art of noticing, the aroma of morning coffee, a shared joke over dinner, the warmth of a friend's hug. Their wealth isn't in what they own, it's in what they feel. Their hearts are rich because they fully experience each fleeting moment. Contrast that with someone who has a mansion, designer clothes, and luxury vacations, but never stops to appreciate a sunset, a kind word, or a quiet breath. The irony is clear: one is rich in spirit, the other remains impoverished despite material abundance. Here's a reflective question for you. When was the last time you paused and truly felt the richness of an ordinary moment? Can you remember drinking water and feeling grateful for it? Walking in the park and noticing the breeze? Listening to a song that lifts your heart? Inner wealth is about cultivating that awareness and learning to delight in life's small gifts. There's another layer to this. Mindfulness not only makes life feel richer, it actually changes your brain. Studies show that when we train ourselves to notice the present moment and appreciate small joys, we experience more happiness, less stress, and greater overall well-being. This is why people who live with awareness often seem lighter, freer, and more content than those who are constantly chasing external wealth. The lesson is profound yet simple. Inner wealth is the art of enjoying the ordinary. It's the ability to turn small, everyday experiences into treasures. It's learning that richness doesn't come from accumulating things, but from cultivating the capacity to notice and feel fully alive. When you master this, even a humble meal can taste like a feast, even a short walk can feel like an adventure, and even the quietest moments can fill your heart. So, as you go about your day, ask yourself, am I noticing the richness that already surrounds me? Am I savoring these fleeting moments? Or am I too busy chasing what I think I need? Because the truth is, the simplest experiences, when appreciated with awareness, are more valuable than anything money can buy. True wealth lives not in your hands, but in your heart. Part 7. Love yourself to truly love others. Have you ever noticed how it's nearly impossible to care for others when your own heart feels dry, exhausted, or neglected? Think about a gardener trying to water a field while their own bucket is empty. It just doesn't work. The same is true for our emotional and spiritual lives. We cannot pour love into the lives of others if we haven't first nurtured and nourished ourselves. This is why self-love isn't selfish, it's essential. When you allow yourself the time and space to care for your own mind and body, when you acknowledge your pain, honor your struggles, and embrace your imperfections, something remarkable happens. You create a reservoir of compassion. You fill yourself so that your heart has the energy to pour out into others without running dry. Consider a moment in your life when you were overwhelmed by stress or sorrow. Did it feel natural to be patient, kind, or generous toward others at that time? Probably not. Our capacity to love and care is directly linked to the care we give ourselves. By facing our own struggles with compassion rather than judgment, we transform pain into wisdom and vulnerability into strength. In that process, we discover that self-care is not indulgence, it is preparation for meaningful connection. I remember speaking with someone who spent years trying to please everyone around her, friends, family, colleagues, while constantly criticizing herself. She was exhausted, resentful, and emotionally drained. Only when she started dedicating time to reflect, meditate, and acknowledge her own feelings did she feel a shift. Suddenly, she could listen deeply to others, offer support without resentment, and engage in relationships with authenticity. Her inner wealth, the calm, resilient love for herself, made her capable of a far richer, more generous love toward those around her. Here's a question worth reflecting on. How often do we allow ourselves the grace to rest, to acknowledge our emotions, to tend to our own wounds? How often do we prioritize the external needs of the world over the internal needs of our own hearts? Self-compassion doesn't mean ignoring responsibilities or withdrawing from life. It means embracing yourself fully, so that you can engage fully. The deeper lesson is profound. Inner wealth begins with self-compassion. A heart that is cared for, loved, and nourished can give freely without fear, resentment, or exhaustion. It can forgive, understand, and support others, not because it's perfect, but because it has cultivated resilience and kindness from within. True generosity flows more easily from a place of fullness than from scarcity. So today, take a moment to check in with yourself. Ask, am I giving myself the love and attention I need to show up fully for others? Even small acts, pausing to breathe deeply, acknowledging your feelings, spending a few quiet moments in reflection, strengthen the heart. The more we nurture ourselves, the more capable we become of nurturing others. Remember, a dry heart cannot water another's soul. But a heart that is tended, loved, and nourished radiates warmth and abundance. Inner wealth starts from the inside out, and self-compassion is the first step in creating a life rich in love, generosity, and connection. Part 8. The greatest joy comes from seeing others happy. Have you ever noticed the unique feeling that washes over you when you bring a smile to someone's face? It's almost magical. The joy you feel is doubled, as if it's not just theirs, but yours too. There's something deeply human about witnessing happiness, knowing that you played even a small part in creating it. This is one of the quiet, but profound truths of inner wealth. Real abundance isn't counted in dollars or possessions, it's measured in the smiles, warmth, and joy we cultivate in the lives of others. Think about it. When you do something kind for someone, no matter how small, you're not only helping them, you're feeding your own heart. It could be as simple as offering a listening ear to a friend going through a tough day, helping a stranger carry groceries, or even sending a thoughtful message. Each of these small acts carries immense power, because compassion is like a ripple in a pond. One small gesture spreads outward, creating waves of positive energy that touch more lives than you could ever imagine. Here's an example from my own experience. I remember volunteering at a local shelter, just spending a few hours serving meals and talking with people who had very little. At the end of the day, one man came up to me, smiling and saying, "Thank you for seeing me." That single moment of recognition, of feeling acknowledged and valued, brought me a joy deeper than any material reward ever could. I realized that my inner wealth, my ability to connect, to care, and to give, was growing each time I contributed to someone else's happiness. Let's pause for a question. How often do we forget that our happiness and the happiness of others are intertwined? In our fast-paced, achievement-driven culture, it's easy to measure success by what we earn, what we own, or the milestones we hit. But the richest people in spirit are those who can create joy, however small, in others' lives. That joy is not just a fleeting feeling, it's a living expression of inner abundance, one that nourishes both the giver and the receiver. Science even backs this up. Studies on human well-being show that acts of kindness and generosity release endorphins, increase feelings of connectedness, and boost overall life satisfaction. In other words, helping others doesn't just benefit them, it literally rewires your brain to experience more happiness and contentment. This is why inner wealth grows in those who give freely, without expectation of return. The lesson is clear: true inner wealth is measured by the smiles you create, the happiness you nurture, and the positive impact you leave behind. Possessions can come and go, but the joy you plant in the world has lasting effects, spreading beyond what you can see or imagine. When you shift your focus from accumulating for yourself to creating joy for others, you enter a cycle of abundance that never runs dry. So today, consider a simple action. Who can you brighten with a small gesture, a kind word, or a thoughtful deed? The smallest act might seem insignificant, but it can spark a chain reaction of happiness. And in the process, your own heart grows fuller, lighter, and more radiant. Remember, the greatest joy in life often comes not from what we receive, but from the happiness we cultivate in others. The smiles you plant, the laughter you nurture, and the compassion you show are the true currency of a wealthy heart. This is the secret of inner abundance, one that no money, possession, or material achievement can ever replace. Part 9. Letting go to truly be wealthy. Have you ever noticed that the people who cling the most, to things, to grudges, to expectations, often seem the poorest? Their hearts are heavy, their minds crowded, and their lives feel small. It's a paradox: the more we grasp, the less we truly have. Real inner wealth isn't built on accumulation, but on release. The act of letting go is one of the most profound steps toward freedom and abundance. Think for a moment about what you might be holding onto right now. Is it anger from someone who hurt you? Regret over past mistakes? A relentless desire for more success, more possessions, more approval? Every tight grip takes up space in your heart, blocking peace, joy, and the capacity to connect deeply with yourself and others. By learning to release these weights, you create room for something infinitely more valuable: clarity, serenity, and a heart expansive enough to embrace life fully. Here's a simple metaphor. Imagine trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The more you push it down, the more energy it takes, and the more exhausted you feel. But when you let it rise freely, it floats effortlessly. Your mind and heart work the same way. When you release attachment, resentment, and greed, life doesn't become empty, it becomes spacious, light, and full of potential. I remember a story of someone I met who had spent years chasing wealth and recognition. They had the title, the house, the accolades, but felt hollow inside. Only after stepping back, reflecting on what truly mattered, and letting go of obsessive control did they experience a shift. Suddenly, moments that had once seemed ordinary sitting quietly in a garden, sharing tea with a friend, felt rich and full. They realized that inner abundance wasn't about having more, but about holding less and allowing life to flow freely. Let's reflect. What are you holding onto that might be weighing you down? What beliefs, fears, or resentments could you release today to make space for peace? Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing freedom over control, clarity over clutter, and love over bitterness. It's a daily practice, a gentle reminder that the richness of the heart grows as the grip loosens. Science even supports this. Studies on stress and well-being show that releasing negative emotions and reducing attachment leads to lower anxiety, better relationships, and improved mental clarity. In other words, letting go isn't passive, it's an active cultivation of inner wealth. Each time you release a burden, your heart grows lighter and your capacity for joy and connection expands. The lesson is simple but profound. Inner wealth comes from freeing yourself from the weight of attachment. By letting go of greed, anger, and self-centeredness, you allow your heart to expand, to hold peace, and to embrace life with openness and generosity. True freedom and true abundance are born from the art of release. So today, ask yourself, what can I let go of right now? It might be small, like forgiving a minor slight, or big, like releasing a long-held resentment. Each act of release is a deposit into your account of inner wealth, creating a life that is lighter, freer, and richer in ways money cannot buy. Remember, the richest hearts are not the ones that hold on tightly, but the ones that let go and make room for life to fill them. Inner wealth is freedom, the freedom to experience joy, peace, and love without the chains of attachment. Part 10. Inner wealth, the treasure that follows you beyond life. Have you ever thought about what you'll truly carry with you when your time comes? All the gold, the possessions, the accolades, they stay behind. You can't take a single dollar, a single title, or a single material object with you. But there is something that transcends life itself, something that cannot be stolen, lost, or diminished. That is the wealth of the heart, compassion, generosity, and love. The truth is simple but profound. Physical wealth is temporary, it can be gained, lost, and destroyed. But the goodness you sow in the world, the kindness you offer without expectation, and the love you pour into others' lives, these are eternal. They are the treasures that follow you, quietly and faithfully, long after everything else fades. Imagine your life as a journey. What do you want to pack in your bag? Heavy coins that weigh you down? Or the light, luminous gift of a heart that has given, forgiven, and loved fully? Consider the story of a wise elder I once met. She had little in material wealth, yet everywhere she went, she left behind joy, inspiration, and healing. People remembered her not for what she owned, but for the warmth of her presence, the patience of her listening, and the countless ways she helped others without asking for anything in return. When she passed, the world mourned, not because she had riches, but because her inner wealth had enriched so many lives. This is the kind of treasure that never diminishes. Ask yourself, what kind of wealth do you want to cultivate? Are you focused on accumulating things that will vanish? Or are you planting seeds of compassion and generosity that will flourish long after you're gone? Every act of kindness, every moment of patience, every choice to share love, these are deposits into your eternal account of inner wealth. They carry forward through the lives of those you touch, multiplying in ways you may never see. Even science echoes this wisdom. Studies in psychology and well-being show that people who practice compassion, gratitude, and generosity experience more lasting happiness, stronger relationships, and a sense of purpose that material wealth alone cannot provide. In essence, the richness of the heart is measurable not in dollars, but in the lives you illuminate and the love you cultivate. So today, reflect on this. If tomorrow you could take nothing with you, what would matter most? The jewels, the cars, the trophies, or the smiles you inspired, the hands you lifted, the hearts you touched? True inner wealth is the treasure that cannot be lost, that cannot be stolen, and that cannot fade. It is your lasting legacy, your immortality in action, you're proof that life is measured not by what we hoard, but by what we give. The final lesson is clear: inner wealth is eternal. It is the one treasure that follows you beyond life, untouched by time, untouched by circumstance. Cultivate compassion, share generously, love deeply, and your heart will be rich in a way that no one can ever take away. Every act of goodness, every moment of sincere giving, builds a legacy that lives on in the hearts of others and in the quiet, endless rhythm of the universe itself. Remember, you cannot take gold with you, but the wealth of your heart will accompany you forever. Let this be the guiding principle of your life, a life of inner abundance, unshakable, immortal, and luminous, a wealth that transcends the fleeting nature of the world. Conclusion: the heart as the true treasure. Dear friends, as we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect. The richness you seek is not found in the bustling markets of the world, in possessions, titles, or fleeting pleasures. True wealth is not something you chase outside, it is something you nurture within. It is in the heart that knows how to love without expectation, to give without counting, to let go of what weighs it down, and to cherish what is simple yet precious. Think about it: how often have we looked outward, believing that happiness, security, or abundance lies somewhere else? And yet, the heart that practices compassion, gratitude, and generosity is already overflowing. Every act of kindness, every gesture of care, every moment of forgiveness, is like planting seeds in an eternal garden. The flowers may bloom quietly, unnoticed by many, but their fragrance enriches the world, and their beauty follows us long after the moment has passed. Imagine walking through life carrying this treasure. A heart open to love, a mind free from attachment, a spirit unburdened by envy. This is wealth that no one can take away, no circumstances can diminish, and no time can erode. When you approach the world in this way, each step becomes a dance with abundance. Each smile you offer, each hand you hold, and each word you speak becomes part of an invisible inheritance, a legacy of inner riches that illuminates every life you touch. Perhaps the most powerful lesson here is simple: you do not need to collect gold to feel wealthy. You do not need to amass titles or hoard possessions to feel abundant. Every time you practice love, patience, and generosity, you are already rich beyond measure. The heart that gives freely, forgives, and embraces life with gratitude is the heart of true wealth. So, as you continue your journey, remember this: turn inward. Cultivate a heart that loves deeply, shares generously, lets go gracefully, and treasures the small moments. In doing so, you are not only creating wealth for yourself, you are leaving a gift for the world. Every step you take with compassion, every choice you make with awareness, is a footprint of inner abundance that endures beyond your years. In the end, my friends, true wealth is eternal, and it begins with the heart. When your heart is open, each moment becomes precious, each encounter becomes meaningful, and each day is filled with the richness of life itself. Step forward with love, step forward with kindness, step forward knowing that the treasure you carry is infinite. And with every step, you touch the everlasting wealth of the universe.